Hello, hello, visionary entrepreneurs, life changers. Welcome back to our Momentum Monday. Today is our episode 192. We are now live inside of our Facebook group, Abundant Entrepreneurs. Today, our topic is about your money story and your financial literacy. Very interesting topic following our 1 week before. We talked about the rich do not work for money. Do you still remember that? And today we want to continue to share more about our inspiration. Recently, I've been rereading second time about the book Rich Dad and Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, Mr. Kiyosaki. Even though I'm not fully his fan, but I think he's those fundamental teaching here is quite innovative, I would say, because years ago I had almost like 20 years ago I had my executive MBA with Rutgers University, right? And it's just like a typical MBA classes. We learned financial fundamentals. We also learned like accounting, some very basic foundation concepts and knowledge. During that time, I thought it's very helpful and also helped me to work in the corporate world. And once we get into our own, like our own family and our personally financial planning, we just found that kind of knowledge is not enough. But now when I reread the Rich Dad and Poor Dad, I found wow, his teaching is really down to earth and it's really related to everyday person, and especially how he explained the financial literacy is not like from typical textbook. It's more like tested by the practice. I think it's very relevant and also practical. I really want to share more with you today. And especially very interested, I want to use the whiteboard as well to show you some basic concepts. I think he made really, and he's Rich Dad, by the way. We should give the credit to the Rich Dad, right? And taught him and his friend Mike about the financial literacy that the kids, even like the young kids, like young teenagers could understand. That's fundamental, and that's a great foundation. Helped both Mike and also Robert Kiyosaki. Both of them made like success, build up their financial foundation later in their life. So even now, I found even many adults, people work in corporate or even people who are in the investment area, they do not necessarily know all this kind of a financial literacy. Kiyosaki mentioned about it. So today, let me show you. Basically, like part of that is like from the concept relevant to corporate finance, also from the textbook, right? He mentioned about the income statement. Income statement. Also, this is like a profit and loss statement. Majority of people do not learn about that. If they do not learn like accounting or finance, they do not really know all this. But here we just stay on a high level. Okay, so let me draw this section is for the income statement. Another one is balance sheet. Let me maybe use different color. The balance sheet. The name, from the name balance sheet. And by the way, we will use a very short time to help you understand the fundamental things, okay? And he illustrated a very interesting story. That's what I want to share with you. So I will try to use just one sheet, right, paper sheet, to show you 3 different situations that he mentioned about for poor people, middle class people, and also rich people. That's the most fun part, okay? And the balance sheet, there are 2 sides. One is your assets. Another one is your liabilities. So he actually innovated the idea. It's totally different from what we learned from the textbook, and especially most important thing today, we want to share the money story. I think that's his genius part, and Rich Dad genius teaching. And because when we were even learning in the MBA class, right, these two are like separate. Even the textbook, the best books, where we learned all those quite famous books, they did not share the stories behind this. Like especially the story is also about your cash flow, and the money story. That will show you money story. And the textbooks did not show us the connection between these 2 sheets. They just teach separate ways. But here, Mr. Kiyosaki will explain assets is what help you make money, is what make you money in, right? Get into the money into your pocket. Liabilities is actually what will get your money out. It's like you will spend, right? And the income statements inside of it, the most part is actually what's your money in. Your money in. And another part is like expenses. Expenses. This is your money out. Your money out. So we do not, here I also want to use the liabilities. In his book, he did not use those colors, right? It's a black printed text on the white page. So you could not see the color. So here I want to use the color. Now you could see that connection. So the liabilities is more like, it's like what get your money out, right? So you can see that it's a connection with the expenses and money out. So here the most important, most interesting part is like for the poor people. Now we share the stories, the money story. Then you will see what is your money story, okay? For poor people, remember last time we mentioned that rich people do not work for money, but poor people work for money. Poor people through a whole education journey. It's just like a previous typical journey, right? It's like you go to school, you get learn knowledge, and you get trained, and then you go to outside to work for other people and earn your salary, earn your money, earn your wages, right? And that's your most time your money in. That's for the poor people. For poor people, that's like your salary. Salary. That's for poor people. So the money get in. You work hard, and people want to get more money. And for poor people, their idea is to get more money. Even for some middle class people, right? More money means work harder to earn more money, right? So they work for money. They use more time, energy to exchange for salary. That's a poor and also even middle class people doing, right? Salary, and the salary is what they actually. It's what then they use the money every month. For example, every week, right? You have the expenses. For example, you have a renting. Some people, if they have, before they buy their house, they have renting. Even they buy the house, they have what? They have mortgage. But what's the biggest expenses? Not just for your living. The biggest is not what you spend the money on your grocery, for even eating outside, buy some a good dressing, or go to a movie, or go some traveling. That's not your biggest expenses. Guess what? This part, expenses, the biggest part, number one, expenses, is mandatory and is out of your control, almost out of your control, but there's another story behind it, how you can still have part of the control of it, right? So that is, let me use the red pen. That is taxes. Okay? This is I don't know if you can see it. I hope you can see it. Let me put it closer so you can see the words. And let me get it here. All right. So taxes, number one, expenses. Majority part is almost out of control, but rich people know how to save their taxes, right? That's almost like a common story. People know that. But people who work for salary, sorry for you, your salary is due on your W-2 form, and that's automatically you will pay taxes. Not just for your income taxes, you also for your social security insurance, you also for Medicare. Those parties also like a taxes for you on it, right? So you pay all those out of your pockets, and then you have other expenses like a mortgage, let's say grocery, living expenses, right? And also you pay your credit card expenses, and sometimes you pay those loans, right? And people have a consumer loans or credit card loans, and you pay for your car, you pay for other things, right? So all those are your expenses. And let me here put it outstanding, okay? And for liabilities. So now the story is what adds your expenses? Most people don't know. Most people they buy houses. Most people think houses are their assets. Actually, houses, it's just for your own living. The houses, if it's not generating income, the houses is actually liabilities. So that's your mortgage. Let me see. Use the red one. That's mortgage, right? Your liabilities, your house mortgages, and your car, for example, your car. What else? Like a consumer, your consumer, some other loans, right? That's all your liabilities. And assets is actually for the middle class and rich people. The richer people, they have more assets because this is what generating the money, right? Assets, for example, the rental house. The rental house is purely for generating money for you, right? So what else? Some other investment, like for example, even CDs, right? And other investments, for example, stocks, and for example, bonds. Those things are generating interest or dividends, and now including like what we learned, including some insurance, for example, permanent life insurance could generating long-term, generating like an index base, right? Or generating interest and some generating dividends for long-term that will generate your income for you. And there are other investments as well. For example, some people invest in like private equity. If you have that kind of access and resource, that will be great return as well. So it's like assets means like bring the money in, right? But for poor people, now we see the poor people, their salary will go where? Their salary will go, let's say the story, okay? The salary will buy what? Will buy all this kind of let's say here, they will buy all this kind of a liability things, their cars, their house mortgages, right, and other consumer loans. Let me say, double check what's Dr. Kiyosaki's. He said car loans, mortgage, credit card debts. Here, yeah, like we mentioned the credit card here, we can add here, credit card. How many people, yeah, they do not have that discipline, like credit card debts. They keep using the debit card. They do not have that kind of budgeting. They just, like for example, Christmas, Thanksgiving, they just use all the credit card credits to buy and beyond what they can afford. Sometimes people do that, right? And student loans, by the way, student loans. How many people after even graduated from college, right, from master or PhD, they are still paying the student loans? Thank God I did not. When I went to learn my MBA, first I was still at the same time working, so I used my salary to invest myself. So I did not have student loans, thank God, and also leverage the company, the big corporate I was working for. They have the HR training kind of a sponsorship and to support people to pursue their higher education or like a better training. So I leveraged that and to pay off my MBA tuition 20 years ago. So that was a smart investment I did. And so actually, that's, even though that's like a lot of assets, but that's an extra money in, right? I did that way. So, but now for the poor people, right? They use their salary, limited salary to do all this kind of, to get their liabilities. And then the liabilities need to pay, right? You get those liabilities, then you need to pay it out. So it will pay here, the expenses, money out. Did you see this story? So I would use this this line for poor people, let's say. Poor people. I'm glad I have this kind of a innovative idea based on the rich dad and poor dad, and even go further step because he did not show this full story with the colors. So now I can use my whiteboard to show the colors. The poor people earn like work hard to get a salary, work for other people, work for company, right? They have the monthly income, and then they put into, they buy their liabilities, and liabilities will have to pay all these expenses and money out, right? Money out. Sounds like a poor story. See, they keep doing this month by month. So this is a first type of story for poor people. And now middle class. Let me use the black color. The middle class, I'm glad I have 3 colors of the mark. The middle class people, they do partial of like they have a salary. Let me double check to make sure my story is is very consistent. Actually, this is more like a middle class way, because they have more money to buy those liabilities. So go to the purely poor people. Okay, poor people, and let me use this. So this is for, let me use the black for middle class. So poor people will have an even poorer story. Okay, so this is for middle class, and middle class have some money to invest in liabilities, and then they pay out. So even middle class people, majority of U.S. middle class people, they do not really have much money left, even though they can afford much more liabilities than poor people. So now really poor people, so even worse situation, the worse story than the previous line I showed. Poor people is like from here. So they earn money, right? And then they use the money to do all these expenses and direct it out. See, this is like a poor people. So I use the red one. Red one is poor people, and the black one is middle class. Okay, this is a middle class. Middle class. So middle class, they also have like they focus on liabilities. And poor people even do not have liabilities. Poor people have very limited money, so they directly use it to the color. They directly use it to all these expenses, their livings, for their living, their groceries, everything, and out, and pay taxes, right? First they pay taxes, and you pay your mortgage, you pay your credit card loans, pay your living, grocery, everything, and money directly out. So this is also like out. Poor people out. Okay, this is a middle class out. This black color is poor, like a middle class. Okay, the middle class. Okay, now it's clearer, right? It's much more clearer. So the poor people, their money direct in, direct out. Just like stay in this kind of income statement. They did not even get chance. They do not have extra money to go to the balance sheet, like go to the liabilities part. Majority of them, okay. And this middle class, their money to buy some more luxurious stuff, like cars and a better house, and but pay more credit debt, and maybe they get a student loan, and then also pay out. So that's the poor people and the middle class. And now finally, let's go to the rich people. What's the typical rich people's line? Okay, we use the blue color. The blue color, okay? So the rich people, their money, they do not go to the salary. They don't, remember, they do not work for salary. They do not work for money. So rich people, they will get they will get assets, because the asset, remember we said the asset will generate money, will generate income, right? So the poor people, they use the asset. They, of course, even rich people, okay, I would say even rich people, they have poor and the middle class. Majority of them had this, because most of them are self-made. For example, those millionaires or billionaires, many of them had a humble beginning. Majority of them did not have like a heritage from their parents or like ancestors, right? Majority of them self-made millionaires and rich people, they also had a humble beginning, but they learned financial literacy like this, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad taught Mike and Dr. Robert Kiyosaki. So they learned and so when they get some salary or get some money, right, and they just like invest into the assets. So they focus on this part. This is their big focus. This part will generate continuous money for them, the cash flow for them. All this line is cash flow. Okay, the line is the story and the cash flow. So they invest in this part, and this part will generate income for them. See, this is the rich people. Okay, rich people. This is like a rich people. And you can see that poor people depend on salary, but rich people use assets, generate income, right? And then Dr. Kiyosaki did not draw this actual line, but I will help him draw the actual line, okay? He does have some, like, rich people still have liabilities, right? Rich people also have some expenses. Of course, they need to spend money, right? And so he ignored those lines, but they still have, if I could use dot, maybe some dots to show that this is not a very strong line, not much about it. So they also have like a money out, but not really much, not much. So, and they also have, rich people may also have this from their income, right, to their expenses, right? This part is what I created extra. So rich people, the majority part is like he want to emphasize, like I put this line more like stronger and outstanding. This is what differentiates people who are rich or not. Okay, so this line makes stronger. So focus on this line. So then they have money, right? They have income, money in, not salary, but income. Obviously, this is their income, but not salary. So their income could have like they spend some money, and they also spend some money from the liabilities, because they also have mortgage. They also use leverage mortgages and other loans, right? But because they have strong from assets to income, this line, they have strong cash flow. So this part will be like small for them. And guess what? Because they have so strong cash flow income generated from assets, and he defined another interesting concept of wealth. What is wealth? Normal people think, oh, what is the net wealth, right? Or how much, for example, how much like equity they have, and how much, let's say, real estate, whatever, all this kind of net assets, right? Or their stocks. But here he want to define that wealth is means like without work, how many days you can survive with your cash flow. Almost like let's say, for example, wealthy people means like they do not need to work. Their cash flow is so strong to automatically support their expenses and also their liabilities, right? So let me put it here. This kind of out is like rich people. It's like nothing to them, because their assets is much more. It's much more important to them, right? This is like a strong, robust, continuous, even including residual income, right? Is keep coming in. All this kind of interest, say this is like income or the interest. Could be interest or dividends for rich people. Okay, this continuous cash flow for them. They have a lot of this to support their expenses. So for how long they can, by the way, this interesting, this book did not say like wealthy people or rich people, how long they can survive, right? They did not define that specifically. So you have the judgment. Like for example, if you can, without work, rest for at least like 1 or 2 years, that's great. You could have your sabbatical year to take some break, right? And if those rich people actually, they do not need to work for money anymore. They have just like, for example, the residual income or the cash flow, this kind of income to support the rest of their life, so they can retire. I remember Dr. Robert Kiyosaki mentioned about he retired, I think it's around 47, some number like that. I could not remember exactly, but definitely before 50. So around 47, he and his wife retired. So their cash flow from their assets is so much. And by the way, he also has this for him. He writes books. So that's like a royalty income, like intelligence property. Okay, property. This for people like, for example, artists, authors, like people create those products, right? He printed his book. He published his book, sold millions of copies, and this one he earned royalty, like intelligence properties, like the income, continuous income, right? And yesterday we were talking about even those Hollywood big stars, right? Those actors, actress, big stars. Once they like take action in one movie, for example, they do not just get one-time income. As long as the movie has continuous display in the cinema or online, everything, they continuously get their intelligence properties part. That kind of residual income. Isn't that wonderful? So you want to focus on. So here is our literacy, right? We want to focus on here, but what's our story now? I'm curious. Let me know, what's your story now? In the red line, the poor people, it's like come in, salary, and come out, right? You barely have any saving. That's a poor people's story. And the middle class stories, like their salary in, and they buy liabilities, and then liabilities you have to pay all this money, and those mortgages and loans, interest, everything right out. So you also had very limited time left to do some. So while you are still in the like poor or middle class, also when you are the poor people, you want to, let's say the line, you want to go to middle class. So here I'm some expanding part, okay? You want to have better financial literacy and save your money. Do not spend all your money out, right? If you can still like a budget and save some little money, spend less than you can afford, and accumulate some money to get to the middle class, so you can afford to. But instead of a middle class invest in the liabilities, you want to invest in assets, including like a rental house or some like a investment, but you want to invest, for example, some like a secure investment instead of like stocks, and bonds will be more secure, and insurance for long-term permanent insurance will be good. And the city is quite short. But if you have some talents, also you can do the intelligence properties for long-term income as well, right? So both poor people and the middle class people, you want to focus on this part, okay? So I want to emphasize this part. Assets, that's if you want to use once, maybe quickly, like one sentence to understand the rich dad, poor dad. His emphasis is for you to focus on assets part. I hope that maybe save your time, but I still strongly recommend you to read this book, okay, word by word, read it. Of course, this is great. If you can take a screenshot, take it, because this you cannot find in the book. This is like my genius expansion of Dr. Robert Kiyosaki's concepts. So this one even give you better story put into one picture. He uses 3 pictures. Let me show you. He uses 3 pictures. This one. He uses 3 pictures and quite some pages to explain it. And now you can use 1 page to understand it. So better whole picture, right? So when you are poor, you want to get to the middle class, but learn from rich people their like financial literacy and their strategies, right? And to focus on use your limited money to invest in your assets, and also middle class people also you want to learn this, okay? So you want to input your any kind of extra money instead of put all into your liabilities. Of course, sometimes we still want to enjoy life, right? We want to have some nice car, but you still, before you get to that rich level, you do not want to spend so much money in your luxurious or fancy stuff, right? You want to put the money more in the assets to let the assets generate more money for long term. And then once you get to the rich level, you have more money, and then it's easier for you to either spend some out and also put into some other liabilities to meet your life's needs, right? And also plan for like more luxurious traveling, everything. But interesting is like we found many rich people actually they are more stingy. Sounds like another day a friend shared with me his uncle, very rich billionaire, and also help them to invest in their money into like their middle class. Now their uncle is helping them invest into like some private equity. So that's some assets, right? I said, oh, congratulations, you're lucky. But he said his uncle is so frugal. I would say it's like stingy, right? Like spend some money even for some like sources. He would rather suggest the kids to spend the money on a cheaper one instead of just for dozens of cents difference, the price difference. He would suggest them to invest in that like to spend the money on the cheaper one and than a richer one. But from there, it's like a peak to say how the rich people really get rich, because they develop the habits and they have the strategies, right? The habits to, and by the way, he said that uncle is always like quite secret, would not like talk too much about his money and his assets, right? They only learn from their kids, the uncle's kids that know that they inherited much money, and the uncle is almost like a billionaire. So, but that's their strategies. Their habits is like they will save money, right? They save money and then they invest in the assets so they get more money. And now, even though like from outside they will not show off, but they do, right? Give a much more heritage to their next generations and benefit the next generations, and also teach them the good habits. So that's what we want to learn. Okay, so today actually I think I cannot spend them extra too much money, but I believe this literacy and this simplified literacy and the financial, like the cash flow and your money stories, it definitely I hope it's helpful to you. Let me know, okay? Let me know what's your current story, either poor or like a middle class. Don't worry about that. You still have the chance, right? We know now we learn the knowledge. We increase our financial literacy so that we could we understand that. By the way, understand our money story, right? So you know where you are now, and also you know how the rich people get to become richer because they keep doing this part, right? And create this kind of stories. So we want change our learn financial literacy, change our own money story, and also help our kids, our next generations, change their money stories as well. And we do not want to just work for money, right? Just work for salary. And now I'm encouraging my kids to learn financial literacy and also do not just focusing on in the future after you graduate from college and you just want to get some work. Of course, in a short time you can I encourage them to go to companies to learn, to get some experience, and even get some lessons, right, from their bosses, and understand how the company is operating. But eventually I want my kids, my next generations, to also focus on this part and also build up. Now I'm teaching my kids. One is a high schooler, another one is a college student. Teach them to do their budgeting monthly because I'm giving them more money than before, right? And monthly allowance is more. I want them to track their expenses and put them under categories, and we will have more financial literacy knowledge to share. And also remind my kids to read the Rich Dad Poor Dad. And now I know they are not quite too much consciously about money. And by the way, for example, the Chinese New Year, we just the kids got quite some like red bucks, right? Red bucks, and with money, with cash, and it's now our parents' good time to teach them how to better manage their money and how to also have some like a saving, and in the future, near future, how to invest and to get the money continuously going, okay? And especially if you're interested, by the way, more financial literacy and how the better ways to invest in the assets part and some like safety, especially like me, right? I'm busy. I do not want to invest in quite risky and time-consuming kind of investment. If you're like me, want more secure and long-term kind of investment and have your family protected and also have the wealth, have the assets keep growing and generating the interest, generating the dividends, and help your family have a better money story, feel free to contact me, right? We will have more time and provide the training and the consultation to serve you. All right. So all our entrepreneurs here, I want to remind you, do not just, I know we are passionate on what we're passionate about, right? And to serve people, to help people. But the financial literacy is really the foundation. I think is a must for everybody, especially entrepreneur and the business owner who wants to serve more people, who wants to become richer so that they will be more empowered to help more people, right? Because we're not here just for money. We are here, want to use money, leverage money as a better power for us to help more people. So you want to learn more financial literacy and to help yourself, your family, and many other people as well. Okay, so let's talk. And by the way, this Thursday we'll also have the masterclass on how to launch your online business, your online impactful and profitable business in 90 days. At the same time, stand up as confident expert and thought leader in your field to help more people. All right, so we'll see you on this Thursday. And for the financial more detailed knowledge and services, feel free to contact me. Send me a direct message. All right, everyone, have a great momentum. We will have more financial literacy topic in the near future. Okay, and let's have a great momentum and for the rest of the week as well. See you. Bye bye.